All right. We are back at the podcast today in the Belmar studios of Grit Won't Quit. We have a very special guest on today from OCD Home Solutions. We have Joan on today. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I am great. You nervous to be here or no?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be.
To be perfectly honest.
I want to take all those nerves out of you, and I want to have a fun, interesting conversation. You have a very cool business. When I saw your sign up, I was excited to learn more. You and I met through the K-Chev events. Kevin, inspired by Kevin, his networking events. You were a sponsor, and that's where we first got connected. And then I believe you saw our Facebook post about women entrepreneurs.
That's right. That's right.
I'm glad that you filled it out. I'm sorry that you were a little nervous coming in, but hopefully after this conversation, you'll be a podcast expert for the rest of time to come.
Hey, that's the goal, right?
So you've been in this business 3 years.
Officially 3 years.
Officially 3 years. And let's talk about it. So OCD, we know what OCD is, and you are diagnosed with OCD.
Yes.
So, some people look at that as a negative and look at that as something that is a detriment, but you kind of took it and embraced it and kind of flipped it on its head and said, let's use this to our advantage.
Yes, yeah.
Which is awesome. Like, I love the fact that you took lemons and you made lemonade here.
It's true. And a lot of people, when they hear OCD, they think, oh, that's somebody that washes their hands excessively. With any disorder, there's so many different levels and severities to it. So really, it all depends on what your level is.
Is that why you washed your hands 4 times to come in here? Just kidding. But yeah, exactly. So kind of talk about what that was. At some point you flipped it upside down, like I said, but at some point you probably were struggling with this until you said, wait, I can make this into something great and make a business and make this something that, is better than it is. And again, to be in business 3 years is a great accomplishment, and you're continuing to grow, and I see you on social medias, and it sounds like you're starting, you got a client base, and you have people that are interested in doing work with you. And again, I think that there's value to that. Not everybody's good at organizing, cleaning, making sure that things are, and I think once you help somebody kind of set that framework on, then you can kind of go into maintenance mode with them.
Yeah, I call it actually a refresh. Okay. And so I just posted a video the other day of me just doing a refresh. So for instance, a pantry, that can take about 6 hours, depending on how big the pantry is, if they're putting bins in there, if they want stuff labeled. So the first time really takes a longer duration. But then a year or so, whatever from there, based off of life, it comes catch-all. You just throw it in there, close the doors, and then that's it. So basically, I go back in there and just tweak a couple of things and rework it, and it could take 30 minutes.
Yep.
So, and then we can go on to the next. Yeah.
I'll tell you, I have a closet for my clothes, a custom closet that I had made, and there's one little shelf that is like my catch-all.
Yeah.
And once a week, on a Sunday or on a Saturday, I organize
those. That's good, though. You go through it.
What happens is it just, during the week, it gets a little crazy. Be the first to say that. So, things that I don't necessarily need, I'll just kind of put on that shelf. And I have long shirts that kind of cover it up so you don't even know it's there. Yeah. And then, like I say, on the weekend, I'll just organize those kind of few things. My wife is very good at cleaning, taking care of me and cleaning up after me, but I have a couple things on that one shelf, so I understand it, and I actually feel like it's refreshing once it's done.
It is, because it's almost like doom, a pile of doom. You're looking at it and gives so much anxiety. A lot of people don't know where to start and where to put the things. And I come in that space and I'm just already playing Tetris in my brain. Okay, this is going to go here. I have to ask them about this. Maybe we can facilitate this in another room. And I'm really asking questions that I think they don't even think of themselves. You know what I mean? What do you want this space to look like?
So, question for you.
Yeah.
Do you do this for businesses too, paperwork and organization, filing, when you think about as a small business owner, I'm sure there's other people kind of feel like I do. I get so much, you get invoices, you get statements, you get, the 401k reports for your employees, you get the health benefit statement. Do you work with businesses to organize them and, both paper as well as in the world we live in, become paperless?
Yeah, I've definitely done that before.
That's got to be pretty cool.
It's not as cool as doing a garage or something like that. You
Oh,
know
now
what I mean?
Andrew's garage
Yeah.
is on your mind now. You're ready for the black gloves to put on.
I'm ready. Get me in there. But yeah, no, like I've done inventory rooms and stuff
Oh,
like
wow,
that
that's
before,
good.
which is really really cool because now you find everything you're looking for without having to like search through a million different things. But I've definitely done paperwork and that type of thing.
And now, like, when you leave someone's house, like if you do their pantry or something, do you leave them with a schematic, like a drawing of how it all should be, or is that
No.
just?
So I do a walkthrough before I'm done,
Uh-huh.
and I'll say, okay, this is where I move this is where I move that, not just for a pantry, but literally any other space. Because the last thing I want them to do is forget where something is, and now they're panicking, they're trying to get to work or something like that.
And they can't find it.
Right, and I always tell them because there's a lot of emotions that go involved with what we're doing.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's very overwhelming. By the time we're done, it could be very exhausting. So your mind isn't 100% there while I'm doing my walkthrough, and I'm like, oh my God, look how great this is.
But at the end, it's got to be soothing for them.
It is. So I always tell them, I'm like, hey, you have my number. Call or text me. I'll tell you exactly where it is because I'm going to remember.
And you'll remember?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Too. So like your brain just kind of works like that.
Yeah.
So I love the idea that like you've taken something and you've made it to your advantage. And like, what is like, do people sometimes when they first reach out to you or call you or text you or message you, are they like nervous to bring you in because they're maybe embarrassed or they
100%.
like I feel like some people just because they have this or it's not as clean as they want it, they don't want to even like have people over or stuff like that. Like
Yes.
it's got to be a little bit tough, I would think. The first call, but then when it's done, it's got to be so refreshing.
Yeah, they always say that they're always like embarrassed for me to come to the space, see it. And
But you put their mind at ease, like
yeah,
there's
there's
a
no
judgment-free
judgment, 100% no judgment because we've all been there. Life happens, and I'm there to help them facilitate that space to make it as functional as possible for them and keeping them at ease and asking all the questions that they need to ask. I also take all the donations. I take the trash within reason away from the house so that when they're done, they're not
Can't
still
go to the street and get it.
Yes.
For real?
For two reasons.
I
So
thought that was a joke.
no. So I remove it because for two reasons. One being that if it's still in the space, they'll be more prone to go back into it and take those things out. Whereas if I remove it from the house, it's like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
They forget that it even existed. They hadn't used it in 12 years. They definitely don't need it anymore. But also, if it still remains in that space, their mind is still clouded by the idea that now I have to go and bring it to a donation center, or it sits in the back of your car for 4 months.
Sure.
And you're driving around, you're like, I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go. I just take it and then it's done. You're left with a beautiful space.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have a foundation that donates food and toys.
Oh, really?
So if you ever come around non-perishable food that's not expired or unwrapped new in the box toy, I donate toys. We donated last year 10,000 toys. So I would love to.
That's amazing.
If anyone ever has anything to get you the information.
Yeah.
My wife runs the foundation. I'm just kind of I talk about the foundation a lot, but I don't actually do the work in it. But
Yeah.
I can connect you guys.
Absolutely.
I would
That'd
love
be
to.
fantastic.
Great, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So that's really cool. Like, you have a fun job.
I have the best job, honestly. It's
And
very
3 years
rewarding.
in, like 3 years ago when you started, so kind of, we have entrepreneurs that have, brand new businesses. We have entrepreneurs that want to be entrepreneurs that not are yet entrepreneurs, and then we have business, guys that listen that have good businesses. So just go back 3 years ago and kind of what made you say like, all right, this is what I want to do now. We talked about kind of how exciting it is, but like, the starting point, like what said like, all right, this is it. I'm going to make this a business.
So, as I said before, I've had OCD my whole life. I was in really intensive therapy. And the last bit of the therapy that I had to do was I wanted to get rid of, I guess you can say, my OCD. I don't know if it ever truly goes away, but at least be able to manage it on a higher functioning level. And then I started like mourning the loss of, the beautiful part of OCD and started thinking, okay, am I going to be lazy? Does this mean I'm going to be not as organized. Like, I'm always ready to have company over, always. Does that mean that now I have to be one of those people that like scrambles and shoves things
At the
under?
last minute,
Yeah.
in the drawer.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's
Yeah.
throw the
Come
mail
on
in the drawer.
over.
Come
Yeah.
on over.
So I'm like, I started like mourning that loss. Like, it's been a part of my identity my entire life. And then I was just like, what are the positives of this that I could shine with it? And I've been organizing for friends and family at that point just about 15 years. And I decided, I was like, hey, let's just put this out on social media. I'll open it up to friends and see if this is a viable business. And I immediately had a customer. And it was like mind blowing. I'm like, oh my God, it is.
Yep.
So.
And now that customer, you always remember your first customer.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, I'm still in contact with them. They're extremely lovely people.
And they liked the work that was done. And are they 3 years later? Are they still organized?
They're not in that space anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, they moved, but I have clients that I've done the whole house for, and they're like, hey, do you do this? Do you do that? I'm a one-man show. I kind of can multitask into so many different things. So I'm like, sure. So I've been hired for other things in the same point too, but
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I tell you, my whole business is based on what the customers want. Like, I was
Yes.
never a website builder. Somebody said to me, listen, can you build me my website? I was running ads for somebody and they said, can you build my website? I never built a website. Now I have 500 websites under management. So
Wow.
people tell me what to do. I never printed a shirt. People came in and said, can you print me my shirts? We started printing them their shirts. We now print a lot of shirts. Banners, same thing. So, my whole business is based on the customer. The customer tells me what they want. Like, I have some, I want to say I have some ideas and I have some plans and I make these plans a little bit better, but ultimately the customer drives the business.
Yes.
And if you can, I think businesses that don't kind of subscribe to that theory kind of fall behind. But I think to your point, you're a one-man show. Of course you can do it, and you kind of think about it, you figure it out, you coordinate, and then you do it, and now you add that to your resume or your product list or your rack card or whatever you want to, your website, and now that's another service you offer. But if one person had that question, someone else does too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I think that's a beautiful thing, and keep running with that because I think that will help just continue to add to your portfolio of things you offer.
Yeah. And being able to be flexible, like you were saying, with the customers too, is huge, especially in any industry where you're working with people. So I've learned a lot about myself in these 3 years, which was really cool.
And I think you have to like kind of check yourself at the door because like people will say anything, people will do anything, people will surprise you in many ways. But I think as long as you kind of just take it all in check and you don't, I try not to lose my temper. I try not to, ever, does it happen? Sure. But like, I try to kind of keep it cool because, sometimes you don't know everyone's situation and what they're going through.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hard part. Like, sometimes that emotion doesn't come out. That comes out at you is not geared for you. It's not for you. It's, but then you get other people that are argumentative or walk off a job or say, F that person. And then, there was a relationship that got ruined in the process. And, there's, a lot of times, I'm sure your business is like mine. It's a lot of referral and repeat business. So,
absolutely.
you have to, I'm only as good as my last, client interaction because I'm not a company that's, just doing a ton of advertising. We do all of our advertising through local organizations, chambers of commerce, the KSHEV events, things like that. So again, if I'm not polite and nice to you and don't help you to the way that you want, well, and you go to the next event, we see each other, you're not going to be like, oh, go call Tom. Like, so I think that's it's super important, especially, as you're growing and you want to continue to, add new customers to your, for your services. Yeah. It's pretty cool though that like you have this under control and you're in an industry where there's not a lot of competition.
There's not, and
it's kind of a boutique little thing that you got going on.
Yeah, it's really nice because like you said, there isn't a whole lot of us, but there are a few of us, and I'm not upset with a customer if they think my price is too high or what have you. Like, as long as somebody is going to go and help them, treat them right, and make sure that the customer is comfortable in their space, I'm
That's a
happy.
win.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's great. So you want the customer to be happy at the end of the day.
Yep.
And if it's not with you, I've said that to customers too.
Yeah.
Listen, if I can't make you happy, I want someone else too. Like, and I'll help with the transition, and I'll make it as easy as possible.
Right.
Because again, when you're in my case, if you're a business owner, it's hard enough to be a business owner that if you're not getting along with one of your vendors, let's make a change in your world.
Yeah.
These people are struggling with some sort of problem in their home that they can't do it on their own or their business. So like you're coming in, and if they don't think that you're the right fit, but many times again, if you leave a good impression, something happens down the road, they're going to call you.
Yeah.
Many times.
Yes.
I've had that where somebody maybe didn't choose me or went to another provider, and you make the transition easy. They'll come back if they ever have a problem, and many times they do.
Yeah.
So so now what's the plan? Now we're 3 years in. Where are we going from here?
Well, last year I was working a very stressful full-time job, and it was hard to balance working full-time, trying to run my business, and I have a family. So trying to do all of that was really difficult. Not impossible, but extremely difficult. And I took a leap of faith by working part-time. I'm not fully to the stage yet of, just being just my business, but I took the step of working part-time, and that has really allowed me to do so much more with my business, which is fantastic. So by just this year alone, being able to sponsor, Kevin's event and being at other networking events, just being able to leave my job early and go do a consultation or go to a client's house and then be able to get my daughter off the bus. That's amazing.
That's like a win-win-win.
That is amazing. So it has opened up the door, my flexibility for my customers, because it was when I was working full time, it was 1, maybe 2 days out of the week.
Yep.
I don't want to sacrifice my time with my family, but I also want them to have a project completed, you know what I mean? And sometimes it takes more than just one session. So it's nice now that I have a ton of flexibility to be able to do that, which is great.
So it's great. So you went from side hustle to
Oh yeah.
less side hustle, more side hustle, less work, and the ultimate step is is eventually to cut off the employment and just this is full time for you. That's great. And then again, it gives you the time to spend time with your family, which is you need that balance.
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
And do you have a plan in your mind of when you want to be full time in this?
I would like to be able to be full time by next year.
Great.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to report back to the podcast. And
Oh,
let us
for
know.
sure.
So let's say July 1st of next year, you owe us an email or a text message. Let us know how we're doing on going full time. And again, maybe at that point in time, it's worth coming back on and kind of telling part 2 of this story.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have some employees with me too.
Again, same kind of thing, like you're doing with yourself. Do employees. I remember my first part-time employee. We have a team of 20 now, 20 full-time, 20 full-time employees. But at the time when we first started, I had one girl who was a friend of a friend, and I said to her, "Listen, I could probably give you 20 hours a week," and that 20 hours creeped to 25 to 30 to 40, and then she said to me, "Tom, we got to hire someone because I'm working 40 now." And I was like, okay, let's find somebody, and that's how it grew. So
awesome.
Organic growth, I think, is the way to go because you can see and find your needs as they're happening.
Yeah.
And, again, train them the way that you want them to be trained and do it in your protocol. And, I think as that goes on, if I can give you one piece of advice, start documenting things because I didn't document things till later on. So, document all the job descriptions and what you expect because we did that probably when I got to about 8 employees, but so some of my early birds that and many of them are still with me. Like we were running and gunning. We didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't and along the way, the first couple of years we didn't have a payroll company. We didn't have a benefits department.
Right.
I remember one girl said, "Tom, I'm going to be 26. If we don't get insurance, I gotta kind of find out I have to find a job because if I'm gonna not have insurance." And we figured it out and we found a healthcare provider, and that person still has their healthcare with us still.
That's awesome.
But it was a learning along the way, and again, you kind of just do the best you can, and you make decisions, and sometimes you have to make decisions on those decisions,
Right,
to
yes.
make them better. But I mean, I think that's part of the hustle. I think that's part of the journey. I think that it's part of, when you look back, you kind of chuckle about it. So I wish you nothing but
Oh,
tremendous
thank you.
success, and I think you're off to a great start. And I want to continue to hear how this journey goes for you, because I really like that you, like I said, you turn lemons into lemonade, and
Yeah.
you're gonna do great things.
You have to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
Negativity gets you nowhere.
I feel like it's the same amount of energy for negative and positive. So my feeling is if you're gonna come in and do something, do it the best you can do it.
Yeah.
Because if I'm gonna be here today and I'm gonna be here for 8 hours, let me make it the best 8 hours I can
Yeah.
make them. Don't waste time. Don't waste, don't just, think about how to make it the best time you can.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, it's been a great. I hope this was easy.
It was very easy.
I know that you were a little nervous, but I hope that this was easy. I hope that I didn't make it too stressful for you.
Not at all. It was much easier than I had envisioned.
All right. So as we wrap up today, let people know how to find you on your social, on your website, phone number, just so if anyone's interested in getting in touch with you about your work or about your journey, let them know how to find you.
So I am on Facebook. I have Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and my website is in the midst of being worked on. Hopefully that'll be up within, I would hope, maybe the next month or so. And then you can also call me at 732-267-7271.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so
And
much
keep
for
doing
having
great
me.
things.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.